Hello there, Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and another card making video. This week is episode 3 of my Tiny Gingerbread Stamp Set of the Month series. Every week in November, I've been bringing you new ideas with this stamp set, and this week we're going to be making a tiny gingerbread village and reveal wheel card, and there's lots of glitter. Now I want to take a moment to announce the winner of last week's card giveaway. If you commented on last week's video, episode 2, then your name was entered to win one of the cards I made. I randomly selected a winner and that name will appear across the screen right now. Congratulations and thank you so much for watching and all your kind comments. If you would like to win the reveal wheel card I am making today, just leave a comment below. Let me know what you're crafting, if you like this card. I love chatting with you. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into making some gingerbread. This is my gingerbread. I am starting with a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock and spreading some antique linen distress oxide ink over that. And then I'm coming in with my tea dye ink for a second layer. And I'm just doing a really light hand, and I'm not trying to make it 100% smooth and cover up the other color, but have some of it show through a little bit. And then I'm coming in with my darkest color, ground espresso, and I just was really going for a certain look and didn't have the exact color of cardstock, so I thought it would be fun to play around with these different colors and have a background that had a little bit of depth and dimension to it. And so the 3 layers of ink and then some mist across the paper with my distress sprayer, and then I'll pick that up with my paper towel, and you can see it got wet enough that it picked up the texture of the paper towel, and I actually loved it. Now I have some walnut stain distress ink that I smooshed onto a window sheet, and then I'm using a paintbrush to splatter that off the edge. So I'm getting a very fine splatter, not big droplets. I didn't want big droplets for this. So you can see when I turn it in the light, there's a bit of sparkle there. That's because that paintbrush I usually use for my liquid stardust. So it also has a little bit of sparkle, and I like that. Now I'm die cutting this house from the House Builder die set. I actually am making 2 houses for my 2 cards I'll be making in today's video. This is the Gingerbread Build-A-House add-on, and I am die cutting a ton of things today, so I'm just going to show you some of it, but I try to pick out all the pieces I want for one color and die cut all of them, and then I get out my next color of cardstock and die cut all of them, and I did it all twice so I could go ahead and create my 2 houses. There are so many fun elements in this add-on, like the little icing pieces. Oh my goodness. The second Build-A-House add-on is the Christmas add-on from last year. It has the cutest little wreath in it, so I die cut that and the bow that goes with it. And now I'm going to very quickly assemble this gingerbread house. I am using pink and white for my colors on this house, and wanting to go with like a really soft pastel look for today's project. So that's why I am using pink and not red, and I think it's just, I don't know, soft and fun and sugary. I don't know why it's sugary, but it's sugary. So I'm gluing on all these little pieces with the help of a glue with a precision tip. This is the Barely Art glue and my needle nose tweezers. Very helpful for this. Now for the door, I'm actually doing a pink door, and then I have a white door as well. So what I'm going to do is cut away the door and just use that outer edge for a frame around the door. And then there's all these little icing pieces that go on the side, on the roof, this window covering. It's just, they thought of everything. It's really, really a cute add-on set. If you like the Build-A-House, I actually did a Stamp Set of the Month series that was a die set of the month series on this Build-A-House die, and I made some really fun projects that weren't cards as well as cards. So I will have my Lawn Fawn playlist linked at the end of this video, so you can check that out if you want more ideas with the Build-A-House die set. All right, so there's one. I also am doing a second house almost exactly the same, but I'm cutting away the window panes inside of this window because this is going to be my reveal wheel and I didn't want the view obstructed. Now I'm using some Cool Pool liquid color. This is a dye-based ink. I'm going to add a little bit of water to that, and then I'm going to take a large paintbrush and brush this across a piece of watercolor paper that measures 8 7/8 inch by 3 7/8 inch. So I'm going to have a tiny bit of a border when I mount this to my card base. Next, I am using the Snowy Sky stencil from Fawn, taping that into place, and then I'm bringing in this Metallics deco foil gel. It's not gel, it's a paste, sorry. It's in white pearl. So when you look at it in the light, it has that pearlescent finish to it, and it is very much like frosting. So I felt like it went really well with a gingerbread village. It's very cool. So I cleaned off my stencil, let that left side dry, and then reattached my stencil to do the other side. And I got a little bit of overlapping, but in the end, you can't really tell, and I think it works fine. So here's my tiny gingerbread stamp set again, and I'm going to stamp out all of the gingerbread men and girl gingerbread people from this set. This is the Sweet Christmas. I'm using the 2 lollipops from this set, and in the end I'll pull out the tiny little row of gumdrops as well. Now from the Winter Village, I am gonna stamp out 4 different houses and trees from that set to go in my little village scene, and those are the images I'm using. I'm stamping them with jet black ink onto some Copic friendly cardstock, and I'm going to stamp those twice and actually stamp a few extras in the middle just to make sure I had enough for these scenes. Here's how I color out my gingerbread men. I start with E11, my lightest color, come in with E15, blend that out with E13, and then again with E11. I have 2 different shades for my pink, my green, and kind of my, it's not teal, it's kind of a minty green. Yeah, it's like a turquoise color, a light turquoise color. I love it. It's seafoam green, really. And I just love these 3 colors together, and it's kind of like that Cool Pool color I used in my background. So I'm coloring all the houses to have the look of gingerbread, and then I'm doing each one with its own color scheme. So this one with green, I'll do one with that seafoam color and one with pink. And that gives them somewhat the look of gingerbread houses for my gingerbread village. So each roof and door will be its own color. I'm adding also a little bit of cool gray to the windows and the snow. And then for the trees, I am using my 2 color blend, which is YG11 and YG13, and just giving them a soft wash of color. I love these pastel colors for Christmas. Do you? Do you like pastel colors for Christmas? I would love to know. Or do you like traditional colors? I really like all of them. So here's all my images die cut and all the Copic markers. I am now gluing these onto my scene. You can see I added a hill with some pixie dust cardstock, so a nice glittery, sugary looking hill, because the snow in Gingerbread Village should be sugar, don't you think? I'm pretty sure. I also stamped these light posts also from the Winter Village. I thought they were just really cute and added to that village feel for this card. So everything's glued in place. I thought the houses looked cool going in line with the curve of that hill. It seemed to give it a little bit more depth than if I would have tried to put them a little bit more straight. So across the bottom and next to or on either side of my gingerbread house, I am adding gumdrops and candy canes and lollipops, and they're so cute. That candy cane is a 2-piece die, also from that gingerbread add-on die set, and I could see myself using it for a lot of things. It's such a fun size too. So these lollipops I wanted to tuck behind the gumdrops, so I actually just cut a little bit off of the stick and they seem to fit in there a little bit better. And that one I had to trim down because when I die cut it, it didn't die cut really good. So there it is, all glued together. I'm loving this little scene. And now I want to add my gingerbread people. So I am adding this little guy like he's running across the top of those gumdrops, just running and bouncing and having a good time. One gingerbread man peeking out the door, and then the little gingerbread girl will be here. And I thought one more running, jumping gingerbread boy so he had a friend to play with, you know, 2 gingerbread boys. So adding a few more of those lollipops. I like them clustered together, leaning up against each other. I think that's really cute. All right, so now it's time for the glitter overload. This is diamond stickles, and I thought, oh, I'll add it to a few places like the snow, and for sure the gumdrops, they need to be sparkly. And then I went crazy. I added it to everything, and I was showing my daughter, and at her, we have a built-in desk area in our playroom. She has LED lights like under the cabinets, and under the LED lights, these looked like it was an electric light show. It was so cool. So now I'm using some glaze to go over my candy canes and my lollipops and the windows. And right here, I put it around the large window where my wreath is, and it got a little bit on the edge of the wreath. So then I was like, well, I'll put some stickles on that. And then how about I put some along the hill to give it a little bit of dimension? And I just kept going and going and going on the trees, on all the little white trim on my house. Yeah, it's extra, I know, but I like extra sometimes, really all the time. My cards, you may have noticed, are not necessarily simple. So simplify yours and you can see how mine are extra. Do you do extra cards, or are you good at simple? I don't feel like I'm very good at doing simple cards. I feel like when I make a simple card, it looks wah wah. I don't know. I'd love to know what you think about it. So I'm using a scrap of my homemade gingerbread paper and stamping my sentiment and embossing it with white. I'm setting that aside and moving on to card number 2 because all that glitter needed some time to dry. A little bit of time. All right, so now for this background, I did the same wash with the watercolor over the top, but now I'm using white pigment ink. And I'm just blending that all over, kind of going over it twice. And you could have a really soft, subtle, snowy look if you left it just like this. Or you can sprinkle on some white embossing powder and have that show up a little bit more. And I like, because I sponge this on versus like stamping it, that there's texture in the actual embossing and it really looks like snow. So now I'm die cutting my reveal wheel panel. I forgot to drop the window in when I cut it the first time. So I'm leaving that tape down and running it through again. I die cut all the extra pieces you can see there on the left. And then I'm going to work on making the hill or the ground for this gingerbread house to sit upon. So I have some more of that pixie dust cardstock. I'm marking it where I think it's going to go, and then I'm taking this kind of wavy border and die cutting that out. And I realized after I erased my pencil mark that it was a little bit too short for my gingerbread house. I think it probably was because of right here where I cut it to match the reveal wheel outline. So now when my house sits there, it's just kind of like teetering on top of that hill. So what I did is I brought back the piece that's left over from the hill I cut for my first card. I didn't use the stitch side on the first card because, well, one, I accidentally cut it so that the stitching was on the wrong side, but the outline of my first card didn't have stitching, so it seemed fine that my hill would not have stitching. So I just cut that extra piece left over from that and tucked it behind, and it worked out great. I love having dimensional hills like this anyway, so problem solved. And now I'm taking my reveal wheel template for Build a House, the one with 3 windows. I'm using temporary adhesive to adhere that to my wheel, so I have the perfect placement to stamp out my little gingerbread people. So I have the running one, the standing one, and the half-eaten one, his crumbs, and the little saying that says, "Oh snap." All right, so I'm going to color those in just like I colored in the gingerbread men at the beginning of this video, the same colors, and I'll even color in their little buttons. And then the unique part on this is that I also took a BG marker, BG10, and I went in and around all of the gingerbread men to give them a little bit of background instead of leaving it just white, and I really like how that turned out. There we go. So we'll remove that. Oh yes, of course, white gel pen. I did that on all the images that I stamped today to give them a little highlight. And then you can remove your template. It's like a little stencil, and you have your reveal wheel ready to go. Now the window seemed too small for me, but it doesn't show inside the house. I just wanted to make the window bigger. So I brought in one of the window dies and I placed it over my opening and I die cut it to make it a tiny bit bigger. I don't really know if this makes that big of a difference in the end, but I'm throwing it in there. I'm leaving it in there so you can see what I did. So now I'm going to put the little tiny wheel, that is the part that connects the reveal wheel to the card, and I am attaching that with a brad and then adding my foam squares to the back of it. And then I'll line up my front piece with my back piece and that wheel will stick to that back piece, just like that. And then I put foam squares in and around, and you can see my excessive use of foam squares there, but I feel it's necessary. It gives me the security in life that I need. So that's why. Okay, so now I'm gluing on my house. So the window in my house matches with that reveal wheel. And then I'm adding a little chimney that is from the main Build-A-House die set, just like these stairs. I added the little houses to each side, also creating a little village scene. And I feel like the gingerbread in the reveal wheel up top is kind of like their Christmas decorations. Maybe the story of the little gingerbread boy is one of their legends. And so it has become part of their decorating for Christmas time. Or if you live in Gingerbread Village, maybe it's like this all the time. Maybe they don't have a specific time that they dress things up with sugar and candy and things. It's just always like this. That's what I think. Adding my tiny little gumdrops from that Sweet Christmas set and the candy canes. So much fun doing these cards. And I didn't want to put the wreath on the window because it was too big for this tiny door, so I just put the bow. I added a little pencil mark there so I knew where to stamp the sentiment that says, "Try to catch me." That's from the tiny gingerbread set. I hadn't used it yet this month. And then I can glue down my reveal wheel panel around that. And then this whole piece will go onto an A2 size card that's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4 inches. And there you can see my little reveal wheel. Oh snap. I'm doing the same exact sentiment that I did for my first card. This one, it needs to be cut into little tiny pieces to fit in and around the top of the card, and I'm okay with that. I kind of like this wonky look with my sentiments from time to time. So I think it is a cute little look there. There we go. So now the glitter. I'm doing the same thing, adding that diamond stickles to all the things. I didn't actually use any glaze on the second card, just the glitter there, and I love it. When this dried, so when the stickles dry, it kind of shrinks back a tiny bit, and this particular, the diamond stickles, you can't see like the gel, you just see the glitter there. So it's awesome. Now back to card number 1, things have mostly dried except that wreath. So I had to be careful. You'll see here that I accidentally touch it when I glue down my sentiment, which I did double stick tape and glue. Right there, touch the wreath. So I'm going to let that dry some more and come back to it. I did think it would be cute to add a little bit more of the diamond stickles to my sentiment. And then, do you see here, there's a tiny gingerbread man in this brand new A Creature is Stirring stamp set that I added to the village. So they're tiny and small and in the background, and it just adds to that faraway look. And then I had some leftover pieces I added to the inside once I mounted this to my card base. Everything is dry and fabulous and so glittery. So there are my 2 cards for episode 3. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Make sure you leave me a comment below so that you can be entered to win this reveal wheel card. And I will be sending those out at the end of the month after I do my recap video, and then you'll get your little surprise in the mail. I thank you so much for stopping by, for watching my videos, and it makes me so happy that you guys also like the Stamp Set of the Month series. So thank you. And everything I used is listed and linked for you below in case you want to check that out. I will be back again very soon with a new video just for you. And if you want to catch it, make sure that you're subscribed and you've rung the little bell. I'll see you all soon. Happy stamping. Bye.